What's up, you guys? This is Wayne from Gulf Coast Construction. This is Talking on Top, and I hope you guys enjoy. Just want to give a big shout out to Atlas, one of the main shingles that we sell out here in Texas as well as in Louisiana. They are such a huge help to our success as far as giving us a quality product every single time we put a shingle on a roof. We cannot thank our representatives as far as Renee Marks, Dan and Mark, and all the guys that we deal with when it comes to our services that they provide for us. So if you ever need a roof or you ever need a shingle put on anything in your life, make sure you go with Atlas. You know, I just want to talk about obviously the dynamic of our relationship, man, because it was a relationship that blossomed pretty quickly. And given the fact that, you know, I haven't had a lot of people come in and teach me things as far as the way I operate and grow, for you to be able to do that for me was a pivotal moment in my life, because I gravitated towards that, right? People always say, like, if you're the smartest in the room, you're in the wrong room, right? So being able to see that and you teaching me some of the things that you've taught me was a true blessing, man. So from the start of when you came on, what was some of the things that you took from me that made you realize, like, okay, this is a guy that I want to work for?
Well, so first and foremost, I appreciate it, man. Those words go a long way. And kind of as I expressed to you not too long ago, I tell my wife everything. So I have bragged about you because of that type of communication right there. I appreciate it, and likewise, right? So to answer your question, man, so something that I noticed about you whenever I first got on that phone call, so just not even full backstory, kind of like summarized story of how I actually began interacting with Wayne. One of the owners of the company, Trey, one of the owners of Gulf Coast, I went to high school with him, played football with him, grew up with him, this, that, and the third. Well, anyway, he posted that he has an opportunity here, so I told him that I was interested. We get on a Zoom call. And so first thing I noticed was the energy that you brought to the call. Because, like, you know, Trey and Travis do their thing and they do it efficiently.
Right.
And you have a whole different way of, you know, balling out, right? And might I say balling out of control. And so once I noticed that, I was like, okay, that seems like what I've been looking for, right, as far as like partners to be alongside.
Right.
Because I come from an industry where you honestly, to make it in personal training, which is what I did before this, you don't have to be the most hardworking, clever guy that can sell and talk and do all of this, that, and the third, right?
Right.
So when you can do those things at an average or an above average style, then you're kind of like an outlier and you're looking for others to kind of push you, you know? And one thing I know about myself is if somebody is not pushing me to get better, I can get complacent, right? And so I noticed that, just, you know, saying it as straight as possible, you're better at this than I am. You know what I mean? And so as soon as I realized that, I was like, okay, that's the guy that I want to learn from right now, right? Because the things that you can teach me through the experiences that you've had are not only going to allow me to grow, but it's going to allow me to bypass a lot of BS that I probably would have encountered otherwise, without having like a good mentor. So that's good. And that's why I say, man, likewise, because, you know, in some ways you may feel like I have kind of mentored you. You've been a tremendous mentor to me throughout this entire endeavor. So I appreciate it. And I think that answers your question.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, at no point in time am I trying to be a mentor to you. Right?
Same.
It's
right.
It's one of those things where, you know, I feel like everybody learns off of experience, right? And one of those things is, you know, I've obviously gone through a lot more of situations with homeowners, with roofing situations, or just in business in general, right? I've owned now, which would be 4 companies, and I failed on my first 3, right? And I learned from my failures. So going through that, right? If I can prevent that failure from happening to you, that's obviously what I want to do, right? And I want to look out for you in your journey to make sure that I can prevent as many of those speed bumps in your route as possible. And one of the things too that I noticed is you actually are a very good listener. And typically a lot of times when people are very talented, right, and when people are very talented and when people have a lot going for them, they tend not to listen, right, because they think they can figure it out themselves. And that was one of the things that I kind of noticed off rip was like, okay, this guy is actually listening to what I'm saying, right? He's applying what he's listening to. And that's another thing is like, you can learn all you want, but if you don't apply it and put the application towards what you're trying to do, then what are you listening for, right? What are you actually learning? So that was like one of the big things that made me want to invest more time into you, right? Because I mean, dude, I go in meetings where I have 15 to 18 salesmen in a room at one time, and I usually can tell who's engaged, who's not, right? And I could sit there and just by eye contact, or if someone's sitting there twiddling their thumbs or just whatever, I'll be like, okay, this guy's actually locked in, this guy's not, right? And it was like every time I met with you or every time we had a conversation, it was full locked in, bought in, just your intention behind the conversation, right? And another thing too is you asked questions where you didn't really know, okay, hey, this is what I need to do. You would come to me and you would ask. Whereas some people who have, that big ego, right? They don't want to ask those questions. They don't want to go to someone to try to figure it out. They want to figure it out themselves. They don't want to be the one to ask those questions. So, to your point, that's a big thing that kind of, like I said, just gravitated me towards you, man. And also your relationship with God, right? One of the biggest things in my life was just trying to find people who had the passion and love for God the way I did growing up. My dad was a big part of that, right? My dad instilled a lot of characteristics, biblical characteristics in my life. And some of the conversations we have, right, they could be a little bit passionate at times, but I think that's iron and sharpen iron, right? And I think that's God bringing two brothers together to find out what our main intention and our main goal is in life.
Right.
And with that being said, was that something that, also gravitated you towards me as far as my relationship with God? Was that something that comforted you or?
Big time. Because the background that I come from, not that, it's ever frowned upon to talk about anything. And me, if I'm in an area where I can't express my First Amendment right to like share my opinion, it's going to be an issue. You know what I mean? So it's actually a blessing that I've met you at the time that I've met you. And that's why I said, wow, when you mentioned about being a good listener, because I've never been a good listener in my life. Right. And to be completely honest with you, it was all based on ego. I like talking. I don't necessarily like listening to what you got to say. You know what I mean? And so that has, from what I can tell, and by somebody else giving that to me without any pressure, right, that has grown a little bit. I think a lot of that has to do with biblical maturity in my faith,
100%.
But also maturity, manhood-wise, having a kid, having a wife, and just noticing that I don't know everything, right? Like my parents teach me that very well. You don't know everything. My in-laws teach me that very well. You don't know everything. You know what I mean? So whenever I get these notifications, like, okay, you're smart in some ways, you dumb in a lot of ways.
Right.
Probably better to listen so that you can actually catch up to those things that you don't know. So man, what gravitated me toward this place had a lot to do with the faith that I knew was here. So I mentioned before, I knew two of the guys that played a pivotal role in this office being opened since my childhood. And I tell people all the time, and I meet people from all over the world just from personal training in San Antonio, like the guys that I grew up with were a real special group of guys. We, as teenagers, basically called the guys that we had in the group message to a Bible study that happened weekly. And that was kind of like more of a fight club situation where we would come in and express things that we weren't going to tell anybody else. And if you did tell somebody else, we're fighting. You see what I'm saying? So that type of deal. So I knew that two of those guys were here, so I was like, okay, well, it has to be an environment to where not only I can grow spiritually, but I can help others grow spiritually if I am called to do that. So yeah, in a big way, what I knew to be here spiritually gravitated me to this place, but also what I knew to be here, just pure work ethic.
Right.
Drove me to be here, and that was something that I was communicating to my wife, and I kind of had to help her understand because she didn't know everybody before we came.
Yeah.
So I knew exactly where she was coming from. Like, we're leaving San Antonio for this,
right?
And like, I'm like,
and that's a big dynamic, bro. That's a big change, especially your family, right?
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I kind of committed myself to you as far as I knew your situation, right? I knew your change. I knew what you were sacrificing, right? And what you were kind of the leap that you were taking to come out here. You know, and we talked about it all the time, bro. Just the pact that I made towards you of like, hey man, I'm gonna make you successful. You know, I'm going to make sure that you're successful no matter what. And I've told you that time and time again, like, I'm not going to let you fail, bro. Cause I committed myself towards the greatness of your situation as far as and as well as the greatness of this company. Right. And when I talk about the greatness of this company, you are a big, you know, stake in that. Right. Yeah. So with, you know, with that was kind of, you know, something that I prayed on, man. You know, I really did. And I didn't really understand, you know, how I was going to do it, considering that, you know, and I mean, you can probably speak on this yourself, but kind of the cobweb that this was when we first started, and just kind of all the problems that we had internally and things like that. And we've had those conversations before. But, you know, just being in that work environment and being able to communicate those problems and being able to, you know, slowly knock down the dominoes, right? And be able to do it together, right? To overall see that bigger picture and that ultimate goal of like, okay, hey, this is where we want to be at. Right. Because we talk about all the time. It's like, man, Louisiana selling 3 times as much jobs, but we got a 10 times bigger market, right? So it's like that something's wrong there. Right. So we got to figure out how to fix that. Right. And, you know, in doing that, I feel like just your energy, your motivation, and overall your vision of just being a part of something bigger, and that picture being bigger than yourself, right? That is a main focal point. And me being a quarterback honestly helped me a lot with that whole transition with you, man, because I remember there were times when I would play football and there would be certain guys that would, you know, pay attention to what I was saying. And then there would be guys who weren't. And some of the star players that I played with, you know, I would have those conversations like, man, we need you, man, we need you, man, we need you, you know, and you were that star player that I was coming to saying, hey man, we need you, you know, we need you to step up and be in this role. And if not, I mean, I told you before, bro, like if it weren't for you, we probably wouldn't even be sitting here talking right now, considering the fact of where we were at. So those trials and tribulations in business, right? It's not always, you know, people tend to always think like owning a business is so great, right? And people think like, oh my gosh, I would love to own a
People
business.
that never owned a business.
Correct. Yeah. Right. And that's also the people that don't understand what goes into owning a business, right? So that stress and that anxiety that, you know, I had at that point in time of like trying to figure out like, okay, how the heck are we going to make this work, right? You being able to come in and be the person you are truly did make that so much easier than probably what it could have been. And I, you know, again, I just appreciate you doing that. And then also you not only stepping into that position, but taking initiative to make that position even better than what it was before and taking reins on that, man. So, you know, hats off to you for that. But another thing is, you know, I want to know like, what do you feel like roofing sales? And you could talk about me, you could talk about the company, it doesn't matter, but why is that industry more advantageous for you than where you were at? Because we talked about the ceiling, right? We talked about, okay, hey, you know, there's the financials, right? But business is so much more than financials, right? We talk about all the different characteristics and traits of what we learn through business. So what is it that this industry teaches you that personal training doesn't?
2 main differences that I found in my time here so far in comparison to personal training: volume and quality, right? So boils down to those 2 things, maybe a third thing. But with personal training, you can increase your volume, right? And you can increase your volume in person. You only have so many hours in a day to train somebody. Right. That's one thing. Right. But you can also increase your volume by taking on 100 different clients online, right?
Which seems like a big task.
It's a big task. And so a lot of what you tend to see and what I've seen in my personal business is the bigger I get, the lower the quality.
Quality goes down. Right?
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that just can't happen for me because I don't want to get 150 people and 120 of those people are having a crap experience.
Right. And that's with any business too. I mean, you see these small mom and pop companies that, you know, they were hometown companies that, you know, were great, you know, everybody loved them, and then all of a sudden they go corporate and they start getting big, and next thing you know,
Quality goes down.
right. So I understand exactly what you're saying.
And so something that's different here, which kind of wraps up into that third thing, is you can not only have a lot of volume that you're working with, but you can operate with high volume with high quality still, right? Especially when you have an infrastructure like we do, right? When there are separate teams handling separate tasks, and we have a president and 4 owners that are all dogs as far as like pushing the envelope forward, making sure we're getting things done so that the quality doesn't fall off.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So when those two things are there, now the impact changes tremendously, not only on each individual employee, but each client in the community that you're working in, the state that you're working in, and then, you know, hopefully if all goes as planned, the nation that you're working in. Now you have a much greater impact than you would have, you know, not being able to obtain, you know, volume and quality.
And you said, you know, work 4 owners, right, and a president. Obviously, a lot of companies don't have 4 owners. That's something that's very,
it's atypical.
Yeah, it's against the odds. You know, what is it like working for a company with four guys that are so-called shot callers?
Yeah, at first it was confusing. It was very confusing. I was trying to figure out, who do I go to for this? Who do I go to for this? Who's the master at this and this and this and this?
Right.
So as I've learned that, now it's interesting because it's a new style, a new structure that I've never seen personally, but that fills the gaps of the old structure that failed before my eyes time and time again, right? So you're able to actually delegate certain tasks to certain individuals that are better at this task than other individuals. So it's kind of like the football team. Like, I'm not going to put my quick guard at wide receiver. It's not going to work. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So stuff like that. Like in something that you've hit on is, you know, like the bigger picture, things like that. Me having played football for basically 18 to 20 years of my life, I think about almost everything like football, you know? So as far as this whole entire thing that we're trying to get done here, I see it as we're trying to win a championship.
100%.
And I revert back to my days in high school, not college, because my college team wasn't worth the piss. Like, we were terrible. Okay. But with high school, man, we had some tremendous coaches that taught us the value in making sacrifices for the betterment of everybody. You see what I'm saying? So sacrifice your early mornings to be here for film. Sacrifice what you could be doing after school with the homegirls or whatever the case is to be here with your boys, running drills, doing a long practice, whatever the case is. Sacrifice your body in a lot of instances. So, and I'm gonna make the correlation. I'll wrap this up here quick. But man, I have brain injuries, traumatic brain injuries from playing football as long as I did. I have something that's called post or mesial temporal sclerosis, which is basically a form of epilepsy. Huh?
You know how to spell that?
I could, but I'll have to think about it. Maybe. No. Probably not. Probably not. No. See, you know, you gotta think about it. But anyway, so with this stuff, it's a form of epilepsy. So I'm prone to seizures if I don't take anti-seizure medication, right? That was a way that I sacrificed my body for football.
Right.
So now it's only natural for me to get into this business and trying to win a championship in this business.
Yeah.
I'm going to sacrifice something. You can't expect to earn a big prize with no sacrifice. You see what I'm saying? So I've sacrificed time in different areas of my life, right? I sacrificed comfort, right? From the job that I came from, if I didn't want a full schedule, I didn't need a full schedule, and I can still make ends meet comfortably. You know what I mean? And I can go back home, take a nap in the middle of the day, go work out, and then come back and train my evening clients.
Right.
Now I came up here with the understanding that even if I do get the opportunity to do that, I'm not doing that for the next year or two, because I'm going to use as much time as I possibly can to make sure that we move forward in winning this championship.
Yeah. And you know, kind of a point that you brought up the other day that was pretty cool was like, how are you not alleached to the company? Right. And what is your self-evaluation?
Right.
I feel tired. Yeah. So
shout out to Coach Gott. Coach Gott ever sees this video, I'm gonna send it to him, because he's not.
That was such a cool thing for me to kind of understand, because I saw where you were going with it. Right. You were now making them put it into the perspective of like, okay, what am I doing every single day to be better? Right. What am I doing every single day to make this company better? Because at the end of the day, if you're doing what you're supposed to do to become better at your job, naturally everything else is going to become better.
You're giving life to the program.
Correct, 100%, and you're not taking from that, right?
Exactly.
So that was like one of the like really cool things, man, that you showed me. But and what it also showed me was like, man, I need to start asking other people this outside of the group of people that you asked, you know, because you only because you only asked, you know, the Texas branch, and I'm like, man, I need to bring this to Louisiana, you know, so to really evaluate like, hey, where are these guys at mentally? Because that's one thing too that I've started to understand is, man, when you're in this business, when you're in this industry, and you're in sales, and you're dealing with people, that energy that you come into the door with is felt, right? So if you're a miserable person, if you don't like your job, if you don't like what you're doing, you're not going to be the best at what you're supposed to do. Right. And I love what I do, man. Like I really do. Like, and you probably see that just when I'm out there, you know, trying to make a deal happen. So that's why, you know, I've seen the success in my sales, you know, it emulates into, you know, hey, this guy loves what he does. This guy wants to be the best at what he does. This guy thinks that he's the best at what he does. And because of that, those people gravitate towards that and overall choose me over the other contractors that they talked to prior to me. You know, and that's something too that, you know, I kind of want to ask you, do you love what you do?
Absolutely. And what I do, aside from office things, because I'm going to keep it straight with you, I've never been an office guy. That's just not, I made a career out of training. You know what I mean? So the office thing is like new. But I love that in a certain sense. But what I really love is selling things, right? I love having conversations and allowing people to see the value that I can actually provide through some type of service. I learned to love that through personal training. And so that's why I was so adamant when I came here. I need to know the product. I need to understand exactly what type of value we're giving to people, at what price point, X, Y, Z, right? Because once I understand those things, then you can actually grow that love relationship with what you do, and it'll actually keep you fired up, you know, and keep you away from being a vampire to your company, your team, whatever the case is. And just for like a little clarification as far as vampire is concerned, that term basically means it's a way to self-evaluate whether or not you are sucking the life out of a program that you're in, which would make you a vampire if you are, right? So if you're doing things that is not conducive towards success for whatever y'all need to be doing, whatever we need to be doing as a team, consider yourself a vampire and consider yourself gone. But if you're not a vampire, you're actually giving life to the team because you're getting what you need to get done. And you're also finding any way that you can add value or add life to whatever it is that you are, right? And so when I come in, I'm trying to make sure that I cross all my T's, dot all my I's to make sure that nobody, not including myself, will be able to look at what I'm doing and say, you're being a vampire now, right? You're actually taking away from what we're trying to do. Right. And that's why I have very hard time. I had a very hard time.
And that goes into work ethic, right? We talked about it earlier. I mean, just having that work ethic, having that drive to wake up every single day. And, you know, for the people out there that are probably wondering, like, do you feel like a roofing sale is an easy sell? Because for example, let's talk about like Cutco knives, right? If you were around selling Cutco knives, man, you were a savage of a salesman. If you make me buy 1,000 ounces worth of knives, I want to hire you. You know what I mean? So would you say, because obviously you sold personal training, right? So would you say that a roof is a more convenient sale to someone that's trying to get into sales?
Bruh, 10 times. There's so much, not to disrespect roofing, but it is way easier, right? And I've explained this multiple times, but put it to you like this. Somebody knows when they need personal training, right? So they go in and they look for a personal trainer, but they don't realize all what comes with it. And the first thing that they're worried about is the price. But that is them paying out of their own pocket,
right?
You see what I'm saying? And actually having to like show up to get that done. It's not something that's promised, guaranteed, or whatever the case is, right? Like you essentially have to buy from this person that you are convinced can give you this service that actually takes some time. It's not like I can wave a wand and make you not fat. You see what I'm saying? So roofing is not the same, right? So first of all, you get assistance with paying with it. So picture if I had a personal training client coming in and they say, hey, I know you charge $80 a session, but my insurance has already wrote me a $4,000 check to get trained here.
I see where you're going with that. Yeah.
Oh, say less. Like, that's way easier. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, excuse me,
More affordable.
way more affordable and way more practical for the client.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Almost an incentive too.
That's an incentive. And so that's why I love the process of how insurance actually will take care of homeowners
Right.
when they, do what they need to do.
Yeah.
But I also love the process of showing a homeowner like, hey, getting this taken care of is actually going to benefit you greatly X, Y, and Z ways,
Yeah.
So that's I love it a lot, and it's a whole lot different, and it's a whole lot easier. Honestly, it's bar none. It's easier.
Yeah, and I think people fail to realize too, like, we talk about roofing sales, right? But the financial, when you talk about sale, you talk about spending money, right? It's a purchase of a product or a service. The sales that we do, we actually save people money. And that's what a lot of people don't even realize, is that within those next 5 years, you're actually making money back on that investment that you initially put in of your roof.
Right.
And that's, I think, one of the coolest things, as far as, when I try to break down all of the different lessons and things that I try to tell these guys, just as far as like, hey, how do you make a homeowner go from not even thinking about their roof, right? Not even realizing that they need a roof, to, oh my gosh, I need a new roof right now, right? And when you're able to illustrate those savings and paint the picture of, okay, hey, this is where you're at now, but in 5 years from now, you're going to be not only in a better situation equity wise with your home, but financially with your premiums on your insurance and your deductible limits and stuff like that. I mean, that is something that's, we talk about solar and selling itself, right? That's something that literally sells itself.
Now,
right?
Picture that versus I'm selling a personal training client, and I'm like, yeah, if you don't take care of this right now, 30 years down the line, you can have a whole bunch of doctor's bills, which is true.
Yeah.
I'm not lying to you, right? But it's much less like here and now for that person. Oh yeah, you're gonna save this hypothetical money because you may end up, having serious health issues. Right. So yeah, man, it's a whole lot easier. It's a whole lot better. But that's a part of where it comes in, where like I was calculating it, like the roofing ceiling for what you can make roofing, just because of the whole process, is a whole lot different than, some other selling knives and things like that,
Yeah. And I think it's something too that, like, there's only going to be more and more homes being bought, right? There's going to be more homes being built. There's going to be more development, things like that, right? So the roofing industry, it's not gonna plateau anytime soon. It's only going to get more and more inundative, and there's going to be more things that are growing, and that's something too. As far as the roofing sales that we do at Gulf Coast, we were able to establish, okay, now we have an interior and exterior division, right? We have a mitigation department. So it's like, you're not even necessarily just selling the roof, right? You're selling the roof, all of the damages around the house, maybe interior damages. If you want to bundle the solar into a financing option, you could do that as well, right? So it's like making that complete package of sales opportunities for you to make money on. And that's like one of the things that, me being a salesman, right? I've noticed that when you only allow someone to be able to take advantage of so much, and you only give them that much room to, seize the opportunity of getting that sale, it limits the amount of opportunity that they have, right? But when you have all of those different things that you can sell and that you can offer and that you can bring to the table, now it opens up more doors for you to knock down. It opens up those different gateways where it's like, okay, you don't necessarily need a roof, but what about your electric bill, right?
Well,
what about your money here? Okay, hey, you don't need a roof right this second, but look, you have leaks already right now. So how can we prevent that from happening?
Right.
So there's like all those different things that you can do to, offer those homeowners and those clients to give them that peace of mind. Right. So, man, that's awesome, man. And I'm so glad that you are a part of this team, bro, because I think it's not only good for now, but it's good for the future, in the sense of we both have a common goal, right? We both have an understanding of what that bigger picture is. And, I thank you and applaud you every single day for doing what you do best and being yourself. And I think as long as you are yourself every single day, I think we'll get to that goal and we'll get to that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed 100%, man. I appreciate y'all bringing me on. I appreciate you allowing me to be myself fully, thoroughly. Cause sometimes just, I know me, bro, like there can be a little much. So, you know, I appreciate it, but you know, I think it's gonna continue to blossom into something great. I'm excited every time somebody asks me about what I'm doing now, and you know, tell it to my family, whether that be in-laws, and which is really cool because like I know for a little while my in-laws are like, yeah, you got this personal training thing going on, but like that still doesn't make you not a loser.
Yeah, right.
So like, we need to get you into something real. So they've been seemingly pretty thrilled about like, you know, this. So man, I appreciate it, man. It's been an incredible blessing. All glory to God, brother. And other than that,
Yeah. Nah, man. And if you guys want to, you know, try to endeavor into a different career, or if you guys want to try to jump into something, or even want to just understand like, hey, this is what it takes to be in that, you know, contact us, click subscribe, click the link below, try to get in contact with us and reach out to us. So that way we can maybe help you make that decision, or at least give you some guidance as far as like, hey, maybe you're not there right now, but you can get there if you just follow these simple steps. So hope to see you guys again soon. And this is Gulf Coast with BJ Brooks.